Hello everyone and welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. My name is Stefan. Thank you for coming to the channel. Okay, we're back in the fish room in front of my ADA 60H, I believe is the model number. It's the 20 gallon plus, so it's got a couple extra gallons, give or take. And all of those gallons are represented by height. So this is a taller aquarium than your standard 20. Just for the record, I'm running a Twin Star light on it, and I use the Oase Thermomaster down here. I believe that's a 350, and I have CO2 over on the other side, a 5-pound cylinder, and I have the UNS regulator, the mini, which I adore. If anyone wants to begin their journey into CO2, I highly recommend you look at the UNS mini regulator, either the solo one or the one with modular attachments. It's easy, it's priced well, and it comes with really good reliability in my opinion. I know reliability is not a thing, so something can't come with that, but I feel really comfortable whenever I utilize products from the UNS line, and no, I have no financial or product backing from that company, and they never reached out to me, but I get a lot of satisfaction from their products and I'm happy to pay them for it. So that's the aquarium in terms of the specs. It's heavily planted, as you can see, and it contains these lovely SB rasboras. Move my hand a little bit to get out of the reflection. Some ember tetras and some rummy nose rasboras, which are being a little skittish, which is unusual for them. Probably when we're filming, if I move away, there's a male right there, gorgeous fish. I have a relatively decent sized group of both those and the SB rasboras in here, and a lesser amount of ember tetras. There's also a school of panda corredoras. There's one of those lovely beasts right there. And Otocinclus neocaridina. There's a sort of a Rilly style on the Christmas moss. And probably a few creatures I'm not even aware of. There is a honey gourami in here as well. Gorgeous little inexpensive fish. I always say they make a fabulous surrogate for betas in a community tank, or a tank where you don't want any aggression, which this certainly qualifies for. The main difference is this red plant here. This tiger lotus used to be in my display tank. I had 2 of them and they were huge. And this one I just could not keep rooted where I wanted it to be, the bulb. Right, let's see if we can identify it. It looks like a nearite snail, but that brown thing behind the panda correodora, they're a little bit harder to stick into the substrate than you think. You know, with flow and a lot of bottom feeders, and I did have that in the display tank, way more than just a group of panda corredoras. They constantly knocked it around. So I got to thinking, you know, this tank is so green. There's like little or no red plant matter in here, and I thought right at the center where that cave is, it was filled with cryptocorn, just filled with sort of your standard, let me see, like this, more of these, the green crypt, I want to say Wendetti, but it could be something else. It's really hard with crypts. They're all very similar and they behave similarly, but I had a ton of them in there and they were doing fine. And I thought, what if I pulled all those out, which I did, and here they are. And this isn't all of them, but it's the best ones, which I have to decide what to do with. And put the Lotus that I couldn't sort out from the display tank in that general vicinity. I think it'll do really well in here. The pandas could mess with it by accident, but nothing else will. And though there's a nice amount of flow, it's all the way up here coming back and around and sort of circulating in this fashion, if you can follow my camera, and not so much down here. I use an air stone in this aquarium at night because I don't want it to become too stagnant, but I don't need the bubbling effect while I'm running CO2. It would negate the CO2 in the water by oxygenating it, but at night it pops on. And I'm just saying that as reference for some of the things I do in this aquarium, but it should have no impact, negatively speaking, on this plant here, which has suffered. That leaf there I could rightly clip, and I probably will, but when I first put the plant in here, I just wanted to see what would happen in the coming, I don't know, couple weeks. These things, if they're happy, they start to grow very quickly, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's happy to see those petals, and that's what I call them, they're leaves, but I call them petals, all the way up to the top. Once they get going, you can get an inch or two a day, at least that's what it seems like. And this tank has unobstructed light right down into that center, especially since I cleared the crypts out. And I'm using CO2, and the substrate is packed with nutrients. There's UNS contrasoil and not dirt, but another form of substrate that provides nutrients, and gravel and sand. And there's fish making their waste. And I just fully expect this plant to do either really well or to collapse and die. Excuse me. Sometimes with these bulb plants, especially if you buy them without any sprouts, I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm gonna go radically harsh and say it's 50-50 they'll even sprout at all. So I like to buy them with leaves already out, as I did with this one. And when I bought them, I had 2-foot extensions, and so it was awesome in the display tank. But as I said, I was beset by the problems I described, and I got fed up with seeing it kicked around in there and not where I wanted it to be, so it didn't look quite right. So I carefully took the bulb out and put it here as I've described. Now you can see right at the center of this plant, that's new growth. I think it was there when I put it in, and if I see that grow, forget watching this leaf. It's gonna wither and die. A mystery snail will just eat it up, or I'll clip it. But this, in a few days, if there's no movement on that little leaf, you know, I'll start to worry some. But I'm hoping that that one will begin an aggressive amount of growth, and that I'll be able to witness that, and I can document it for you. But if I get the red in this tank, as you see, and well, as I move back, I think it would be a really exciting way to get that color into this aquarium. Now in other fish tanks, I have a stem plant like Rotala atra that provides red, or I've got some Hygrophila pinnafatata that provides red, or I have red in the hardscape and even red in the substrate. I'm not obsessed with the color like some aquarists are. I mean, I've seen some really fun aquariums lately. MD Fish Tanks just did one where he has an entire tank utilizing red plants, red root floaters, and red stem plants, Rotala Vietnam, things like that. And while I find those greatly appealing, and it's inevitable that I'm going to experiment with them, I love the way my plants have been flourishing in here. Now after I, well, I should back that up a little bit. They are flourishing, especially in a general sense. If we go really close, as I showed you this rotten leaf there, then, now that's not this aquarium's fault, but you can see blackbeard algae and green spot algae on this Anubias. And unfortunately, on this lovely Bucephalandra, there's blackbeard all around the leaves there. But it's flowering and growing. The funny thing is, when this was totally concealed by cryptocorin and this Rotala and this indica, that stem plant, it was obscuring the Bucephalandra, but the leaves were free from blackbeard algae. When I cleared all that out, I think the infusion of light immediately promoted algae growth on those leaves. I mean, that's just what happened. I'm not sure the why of it. The same phenomenon on that Anubias petite back there, blackbeard algae. It's not ruining my vibe or my aesthetic, but I have concern for it. I'm reluctant to do certain things at this point. I don't want to put a Siamese algae eater in this peaceful aquarium. They grow and they're, you know, they become real like Labrador retrievers just running around. And while this tank is technically big enough for one or two, it would be at the very edge, especially as they got bigger in terms of permissible size for a fish like that. They're the only fish I know of that genuinely eat blackbeard algae. And mono shrimp will pick off things on top of that algae and maybe help in some rudimentary way, but they don't feast on it. I could add carbon, and I almost did before I started filming, but I opted not to do that just yet. I have done a lot of pulling out of plants. That releases nutrients from aqua soil, especially if you haven't touched it in a long time. It's kind of a secret problem. You know, if you pull out too many stems from your soil, be it a dirted tank or just using contra soil, ADA, Amazonia, when you pull it out, all that stuff that gets in the water, it's not that the cloudiness is bad for the fish tank, but it's filled with nutrients, and that could create an algae bloom, and that might have had some impact on the blackbeard algae. Not a botanist or a scientist, so I'm not sure, but my experience tells me the intense infusion of light after I cleared out a lot of those radical stems in terms of how aggressive they grow, and the cryptic horn, same thing. That light was manifest in that cave area, and so blackbeard algae just came everywhere, and I'm hoping it'll dissipate, and I'm hoping this lotus has a happy home in here. Wouldn't it be awesome to have the red just kind of snaking up right through that pathway, that cave? All right, everybody, if you have any questions or would like to comment, by all means do. I promise not to answer with just a thumbs up emoji. I really value your input. With that being said, everybody keep your hands in the tank, and ciao for now.